Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to a very special bonus episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcasts. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host, Mike. If you're a regular listener, thanks once again for your time. And if you're a new listener, you're very, very welcome indeed. With me today, I'm delighted to welcome, we'll find out exactly, Aaron, AJ, Jonesy, Aaron. I don't know how we're going to do it. But before we get into that, obviously, always the engagement. We love the engagement. We join the conversations, share, like, and everything on social media with @Sutton Podcast. But thank you for joining us today. Which name do you prefer?
Definitely not Aaron.
Aaron? Come on,
No,
Aaron.
definitely not Aaron. AJ or Jonesy is fine. Yeah,
Excellent.
whatever
Lovely.
you choose to use is okay.
Oh, that could be dangerous, especially on a Saturday afternoon.
Those two. Don't
yeah.
straighten those two.
And it's been about a month since pre-season started. How have you settled in so far at Sutton? And just how are things going with the group? Because obviously we've got a whole bunch of new people in on top of the new people we had last year.
Yeah, no, it's been great actually. I think coming into a new environment, it always presents its challenges. But I think when you're one of a number of players that are coming into a new environment, it probably helps. So I think, what do we have? Maybe 10 or 11 new players. Mm-hmm. So I think because there's so many people getting integrated in the group, it doesn't feel like you're the only one doing it. And I think that kind of makes the transition a bit easier because you know that there's other people in the same boat as you. And to be fair, all of the staff and the lads who were here last year have been like brilliant at getting us new boys integrated into the club and familiarizing us with everything and what's expected. So no, I've been really pleasantly surprised and still meeting new faces all the time, but sort of my enjoyment level in July and August so far, I've really enjoyed my time with the club. So yeah, it's been a great start.
Good. I did feel a little bit sorry for Brandon because obviously everyone was there together for a
Yeah.
good few weeks, and he suddenly gate crashed last minute. It's like, who's he?
Yeah, he was the only one, but everybody else, we came in. I think it was the 30th of June was the first day that we got together as a group, and the club done a really good job of getting their business done early doors, sort of unheard of really. And then obviously, like you say, Brandon, we call him Beach come in sort of halfway through pre-season or towards the end of pre-season. So, but no, he's settled great and he's a really good character. He knew Simps as well, so I think that sort of helped him settle.
Yeah.
And
to be fair, he scored a last minute, a very late equaliser on his debut, so that's going to work in your favour, isn't it?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, what a way to introduce yourself. Exactly.
Well, this is going to kind of meander a little bit, so apologies in advance, but I've got kind of a structure. Your football journey is quite an interesting one. Now, I try to word this without making everyone sound really old, but you were one of the first people to kind of take up these sponsorships in the States, or is it the first with this particular organisation? I couldn't work out that, but you basically left us at 18 and went to the States on a scholarship.
Yeah, I was the first of a new company called Vertex Soccer, and this company essentially helps players who have been released from sort of Premier League Championship academies like myself during that transition from being released to getting a scholarship in the US. So it was not something I'd really considered. And then one of my best friends, he went out in the August and was ringing me all the time, being like, such a cool experience, and I think it's right up your street. And then I've released from Ipswich, went on trial at Notts County in pre-season as an 18-year-old. My old sort of youth team manager was the first team manager there, Chris Kawamia. Used to play up front for Ipswich and Arsenal. Great guy as well. And so I went in and done really well in pre-season. And they offered me a contract, and I think it was under 23s at the time, on like no money. But I met this guy whilst I was on trial at Notts County, and he followed me around every warm-up. He'd just come back from America, and he was just setting up this company. So he was really keen to start sending lads out there, and really good guy called Sam Craven, got on really well with him. And one thing led to another. I started really considering this as an option for me rather than just staying in the UK. And I think I'd seen like some of my teammates who are a year older than me perhaps get released from Ipswich, go and sign like an under-23s contract, and then do 1 year and end up getting released from that. And then they're kind of, in non-league or whatever. So I thought, why don't I go and get like a fully funded education? Like they still play full time over there while you're doing your studying. So for me, it was like a good alternative, and I could still be full time, because ultimately I did want to be a professional footballer, but I still valued, trying to get an education at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, now there's quite a few. I see lots of people doing that same journey.
Yeah,
It seems really popular with the ladies' sides as well. Maybe that's just something else.
big time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
but you do see people going the other route and staying in the UK, do slip out of it, and they get just kind of fed up and don't want to play football anymore because they've failed. You had other options, but is that what you saw with some of your teammates, that they didn't do that option and they don't play anymore, or did your group mostly play?
Yeah, no, there's loads of my teammates. Like I said, probably the year above was the best kind of example that I looked at, because obviously you can kind of see their path develop. But there's some really talented players, maybe go and sign a 1 year pro somewhere, or weren't lucky enough to sign a 1 year pro somewhere else, and ended up dropping down into like non-league, like step 3, step 4. And I was just like, I just don't want to be playing step 3 or step 4 at, 18, 19 years old, when I've got the option to go and get like an education, have a different like cultural experience. And I thought, if I graduate at 22, 23, I can always come back and play step 3, step 4 and get a job. Like there's no question about that. So having, that education, I thought was kind of like a really key thing for me to do. And it was like an unbelievable experience. So yeah, I'm so glad that I sort of made that decision, which at the time my dad really didn't approve of. So I was sort of going against his word, but I was always strong-minded ever since I was a kid.
Well, there was, obviously there was various highlights, but my research, you made it onto a ESPN top 10 playlist. Obviously, people have heard of ESPN, but we don't quite understand fully how big it is and how important that is. I mean, talk us through that. It was a free kick, wasn't it? And how did you find out, and how do you weave it into conversations all the time?
To be honest, it's been that long ago now. I don't often get to talk about it. So now that you've brought it up, it's given me an excuse to talk about it again. So thanks for doing that. But yeah, no, I think it was my first. So I moved over there in January 2012, I want to say, or 2000. No, it was 2013. And I think our first like spring game was in the March, and we were playing against a team that I eventually went on to sign for, a university that I went to transfer to, which was Clemson. And I was playing for Georgia State, which was based in Atlanta at the time. And I remember corner come in, I was like on the edge of the box, corner got headed away, and it's just fell for me like on the volley, and I've just hit it flush. It's gone straight in the top left corner. Like still probably to this day the best goal I've ever scored. And I just remember like finishing the game and my phone was blowing up, like getting messages from home, getting messages from like all of the people that I've just met at uni, being like, mate, your goal was just made ESPN top 10 best. Like, it's not just the best like football goals, it's like the best sporting moments in the
Right.
whole of the States. Like
Okay.
for that, I think it's the week, or I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's like ESPN top 10. So they show like a clip from like a great touchdown, like a home run, like maybe like some sort of slam dunk, which is unusual. And then they put my volley against Clemson in there. So I was buzzing. I thought I'd cracked it after 2 months of being over there. But
That's it.
no, it was a good start. And then that was just one of a number of things that were just like, this is crazy over in the States. So no, it was a good experience.
Good. I'd generally still be talking about it almost hourly, to be honest. But you were then part of something we don't have at the draft, and you kind of went through
Yeah,
the draft process.
yeah, that was a bit weird and wonderful, but no, yeah, it was part of that in 2017.
Every time I've ever seen it, it does feel like the playground of I'll pick him, I'll pick him, I'll pick him.
Yeah,
But what was that experience like? Is it as they show it, or is it just you get a phone call?
no, it's as they show it. To be fair, so yeah, graduated. I think it was end of 2016, and then when you're coming up to kind of like graduation, the MLS will basically select like I think it was 80 players across like all universities in the States, and their players who are graduating class. And then there's this thing called Generation Adidas, which they select some lads that are really talented, which they pull out of school early and they give them pro MLS deals. So I think like Jack Harrison, who was on the bench for Leeds last night, he went through like Generation Adidas, ended up getting, I think he got drafted to New York City FC. So yeah, we all got invited to the MLS Combine, which was in LA. So they flew us out to LA. I think it was in the January of 2017, and then you go and you have 3 games in 5 days, which is super intense, in the LA Heat, and they're all played at the LA Galaxy Stadium. So I think you did a day of training first. You basically get put into 4 teams. So there was like 4 squads of 20 players. And on that first day of training, you do like physical testing. So there's like vertical jump test. There's like a 30-meter sprint test. There was like an agility test as well. And all of those statistics, they get published. So like all the coaches can see physically kind of where you're at. And then I think the first game was on day 2, day 3 rest, day 4 game. And then I think it was even like day 5 game as well. So I think I ended up playing like an hour in the first game, 75 on day 4, and then I think I played a 90 on day 5. And like during those games, obviously you've got all of the first team managers, you've got sporting directors, like all in the stands, trying to figure out what they need for their squads. And then after the combine, there's basically like a draft. So as you see, on the movies and stuff, like that actually happens. So I think it was like 3 to 5 days later after the combine, the draft was at the LA Convention Center. So you could either like, choose to stay and find out your fate in person, or, fly back to wherever you were living at the time and then sort of find out through your agent, or just sort of check whatever media channels were going on. So yeah, I ended up choosing to stay because I had a really good combine. I felt like I performed well, and I was like, I think I was getting like the right sort of signs that I was going to get drafted. So I was like, it would be nice to actually be there in person. So I stayed with a couple of the other boys and hung out in LA. And then I think I was sat there, and there's like, I think at the time there was maybe like 20 to 24 teams in the MLS. Like the MLS is constantly growing. I don't know if you follow it a lot, but there's new teams coming into the league all the time. They're expanding at the minute still now. So there's like these 20 to 24 tables all around this massive convention center, and then all the players who have played in the combine, who have chosen to go to the draft, are sat in the middle, like with barriers around you, just on seats. You feel like you're kind of like herded sheep. Um, and then it's literally like teams are on the clock. So I think there's the first 2 rounds are at the convention centre on day 1, and then the second 2 rounds are done like kind of remotely on day 2. So we were all sat in the middle, and then like I don't know how they do it exactly, but I think it's like based on your league position, like the year before. Depends where you are in the draft. Like it's strange, but I think I remember New York City being first pick, and then they literally like will be on the clock on the screen. It's like 2 minutes, and you can see like the New York City guys all deciding who they're going to pick. But then, like to throw a spanner in the works, like clubs can trade. So say for example, like a club really wants you, but then you get taken. Like that club won't be able to pick you with their next pick, and they're like, well, we don't want to waste a pick, and then somebody can buy that pick off them. So there's like inside trades going on at the time. So yeah, it was like very, very interesting to be a part of. So you sort of sit there and you know people get called up on the stage, and it's like with the 3rd pick of the first round, we choose, I don't know, John Smith from whatever university, and then you have to go up on stage, you say a little bit, and then the clock starts again, and then it's like the next pick. So no, it was mad, and I think I ended up going a 2nd round, like 11th pick overall. So I think I was like 30th pick, and I went to Philadelphia. So you're sat there, and you could be going like anywhere in the States,
You have no,
and you have no control, no say.
I'm not doing that. I want to LA. I want to Florida.
Yeah, you have literally no control over it. Like obviously, you can choose not to sign the contract, like they can't force you to go. But if you want to go through the draft system and play in the MLS, like you have to go where they tell you to go. So I think my big thing was like, I don't know why, but I just didn't want to go to Canada. So I didn't want to go to Montreal. I didn't want to go to Vancouver, which in hindsight is a mistake because I heard that's one of the most beautiful cities in the world. And then Toronto, I was like, definitely not those 3. And then like Minnesota, I didn't fancy. There was like a few, like 5 or 6, I was just like, please don't send me there. And then the rest I was sort of indifferent about. And then there's obviously ones that you think, oh, I'd love to go there. Like, you know, I think LAFC had just come into the league, maybe. LA Galaxy, Orlando City, like these types of New York City, FC. Like you think those ones, like every kid would love to play. I think, was it Vieira? I think Vieira was in charge of New York City FC at the time, and I'm a massive Arsenal fan. So like that was what I had my heart set on, was going to New York City. But that never materialized. So yeah, I got selected by Philadelphia, and then you go up and you meet the manager, you meet the sporting director, have a conversation on stage for 2 minutes, and then you're off. And then all of a sudden, like a player liaison comes over. He's like, right, tell us where you're living now. Like, we're going to sort your flights like for a week's time. And then you kind of join up with the team for pre-season. So it was a mad process, like looking back actually, and I haven't spoke to anyone about it in a while. And like just having this conversation now, like I'm sort of reliving it again. Yeah, it was crazy, but that was fun to experience.
So you sort of said a couple of things about your time, but how do you think it shaped you as a person, and what did you kind of learn while you were out there, apart from saying your hometown slightly differently? But what did you kind of learn and bring back?
I think you get challenged, and you get put in an environment which is not comfortable. Like you're in a really different environment to what you grow up in, and I think that pushed me outside of my comfort zone and made me have to grow up really quickly. Like I had to learn how to cook at 18. I know it sounds like a stupid thing, but I was a lot of the time cooking meals for myself and doing my own washing, and at university in a foreign country, so you're having to sort out all sorts of documents, and I had to sort out a driving license, and I think you have to become very independent very quickly. So if
No beer.
Yeah.
No beer.
No beer. Well, no, there was beer, to be fair. Hopefully they don't go back and arrest me, but I did manage to drink beer when I was 18 over there. But yeah, I think it made me grow up really quickly. Maybe, have a real strong sense of independence. And I think just, it expanded my horizons and made me realise the world's a big place, and not just Norfolk and Suffolk, which is pretty much where I grew up and spent most of my time. prior to going over to the States. Met some amazing people from all different kind of backgrounds. You know, when I was playing at my second university at Clemson, we must have had 12 different nations on our sort of squad sheet. Like, you know, lads from like Costa Rica and Denmark, like El Salvador, all over the world, Spain. So it was really cool to kind of understand their background through football and how we'd all arrived in the same place, but with such different kind of cultural backgrounds. So yeah, no, it definitely kind of helped shape me as a person. Obviously the education was tough, but there was lots of support around the education as well. So no, it was good.
Excellent. Well, you did finish. You came back,
Yeah,
and you played fairly close to home.
I did.
Yeah. What was it like coming back? Were you kind of a little bit like, oh, it's a bit grey and dreary here, or were you pleased to be home?
I found the transition really difficult, actually. That was probably the lowest point in my life to date. Because I think I'd been on this like MLS contract on like decent money after having graduated from college. Thought that was, you know, me set. I was going to be a professional footballer. That was it. I've cracked it now. I've got my education. I've signed for an MLS team. Great. But then I got in there and there was a right back in front of me who was just better than me. So he was playing for the national team and he was a very good player. And I found myself, like, they sent me out on loan to the USL. I don't know if any of the listeners will have heard of the USL, but it's kind of like you can't get promoted from the USL into the MLS, but it's the second division. So you've got teams like Tampa Bay Rowdies, Phoenix Rising, which Drogba played for, Joe Cole played for Tampa Bay. So it's like a good standard. I'd say it's probably similar to like National League level. So I was on loan there and then ended up after that season. Like I had a really good season in that league. Like played like 35 starts and a few goals, a few assists. Was nominated for like Rookie of the Year in the league. So I was like, oh, like Philadelphia definitely take my option. Like I've had a good season now on loan. And then they have like an international roster rule over there. Like you can only have, I think it's 6 per squad, like can be internationals. So I had that conversation where they were like, listen, like you've done well out on loan, but we're not going to take your option because you're taking up a roster spot and you didn't really contribute to the team last year. So like I had this massive high of signing and then this unbelievable year out on loan and loved living in Philadelphia. Then it was just like, right, I'm back to kind of square one now. And I had offers to stay and play in the USL, but financially they weren't great. And I think I always had this burning desire to come and play at home. So that was why I was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just chuck ourselves back into it, back home and see how we get on. And then I think I come home, it's maybe like, it was a really like awkward time. It was like February, March. So I feel like at that time, teams aren't really wanting to sign players. There's only a couple of months of the season left. And like I really struggled to like get a trial, like even going and training somewhere. So I sort of had to be patient. And then in pre-season, I was like, oh, like hopefully I'll get a trial at like a League Two or like a National League side, and like I'll be able to go and sign somewhere. And just like the phone wasn't ringing, and I just think people in England don't really respect like the level, the MLS and the USL, and like you've done nothing in England, so you have no sort of like credibility, if that makes sense. Yeah.
The contact list is small.
Yeah, I didn't really know that many people, and yeah, I found that transition really difficult because I think my expectation coming home was like, I'll go and sign full time and be a pro, and then I realised quite quickly it got round to like July, middle of July, and I was like waiting for the phone to ring. It just never did. So I was like, I'm gonna have to drop my ego here and go and sign for a club which is not at the level that I think I should be at. So my local team, Kings Lynn, like it's about an hour from my house in Norfolk. I knew the assistant manager there and he'd sort of tracked my journey while I was in the States. I think I played with him when I was like 17, 18, finishing up at Ipswich, and went on loan to like a Step 3 side, and he was there at the time. Now transitioned to Kings Lynn, and he was on the phone to me all the time, like trying to get me to come in. So I went and trained with them, and I realised that the level was actually really good. So I think I had this perception in my head, like, oh, Step 3's rubbish, like I can play much higher than that. But we had some really good players. So I was humbled quite quickly, and like really enjoyed it. Good group of boys, and I signed there. And we had a really good season. Like, I think we got promoted from Step 3 up to the National League North in my first season. We won in the playoffs, and then we went into National League North, and we were part-time. We trained once a week, and we were the most southern located team in the National League North. And I think we were like the bookies' favourites to get relegated. We were top. I think it was after like 32 games. There was us and York, like vying for the league. And that was when COVID hit. So that was like 2020. And we ended up getting promoted. The season got chopped short. We ended up getting promoted on points per game. So I think York were above us. They were top, but had played like 2 or 3 more games than us.
Yep.
And we were only like 1 point behind. So they ended up promoting us on points per game. So we were like celebrating on Zoom as a squad. Mad times. But then obviously, so I've gone from, having this ego coming back and being like, I'm not going to sign in Step 3, to signing Step 3, to getting promoted to Step 2, to Step 1, now in the National League. And as well, like the club, when they got promoted from Step 2 to Step 1, we then transitioned to full-time football. So it was a really good experience for me. Like where I felt
it must
like
have been an amazing dressing room to be part of, to get what it was
Yeah.
2 promotions in 3 years. I know
back-to-back promotions.
Yeah.
We did.
Oh yeah, I know one of them you had to celebrate on Zoom, but it must have been a really, really buzzing change room. What was the atmosphere like, and did you kind of have that thing of you're just rocking up to games and you're going to win?
Yeah, no, it's very cliche, but it was one of the best change rooms I've ever been involved in terms of how the
So
boys
far.
got on socially. Yeah, so far. And I said one of as well. But no, the boys got on so well socially, to the point where we were all relatively local lads, obviously, because we were part-time. And it was pretty much the same group that got us promoted from Step 3 that got us promoted from Step 2 as well. So yeah, we just got on so well socially. We had some really good players, like Ryan Jarvis, who used to play, I think he played in the Prem, might have scored in his debut for Norwich against Liverpool at Carrow Road, I think. And then we had like Michael Gash, who was like a good Football League player. Adam Marriott, who's played in the league for Lincoln. We had Rory McCauley, like who's really solid centre half. Fraser, Blake Tracy, who's now playing at Mansfield, scored the other night. We had Sonny Carey, who's just signed for Charlton Athletic, and got man of the match on the opening day of the Championship season. Michael Clunan, who was captain at Scunthorpe last year, got him promoted. Obviously myself, Archie Mayer, who is currently not with a team, but he was sort of on loan from Norwich at the time, and I think he was on loan for Notts County when they got promoted. Saved a couple of penalties in the playoff final. So we had like a wicked team, but obviously didn't realise at the time like how good we were, and we just sort of rocked up to games. We had this real togetherness. We used to go out drinking all the time together down the pub, like, because we only trained like on a Thursday when we were in the National League North. So Tuesdays used to be like in the pub instead of training. And it just worked. I don't know why, for whatever reason, it just worked, and it felt like a bit throwbacky, like Tuesday club era. But it was unreal.
It works partly because they're your mates, and when you're on the pitch and someone's bombing past you, like, I'm not hearing about this on Tuesday. So you have to put that effort in. You go, I'm not having them spend the whole evening slagging me off. I had a Sunday team like that, and they were all mates. And if one of them turned up like a bit hungover, I was like, oh, for God's sake, that's it. The whole team were gone. But you then you moved on and you hooked up again with Tommy at Aldershot. You had a reasonable 24-25 season last year. What was it? I mean, you're the second captain I've had leading a team out of Wembley, so it's no big thing. I mean, come on. But what was it like? Eastie, we're in the Papa John's. What was it like? He didn't win though, so
I grew up watching. It was Craig Eastman, right? Yeah. So I grew up watching him. Like I said to you earlier, with Vieira, Arsenal fan. So he broke through, and he was like, he was going to be top. Wasn't I think he might. Did he play in the Champions League as well?
He did in the Champions League. Again, I think I'm not taking this away from him at all. So if he's still listening, don't bully me. I think that was again with some of the rules on players. So he obviously had to be on the bench, but he came on and played.
I'm pretty sure he disappeared, didn't he? Like, what an unbelievable career he's had. And I remember playing against him when he was at Sutton, I think for Kings Lynn. I think we got beat 5-1. So he was a great leader and great player.
Yeah. But how was it in the build up for you to Wembley? And what was it like playing at Wembley?
Really difficult to summarise, to be honest, Mike. Like, I think we just spent 30 minutes there talking about my journey through football, and looking back on the day now, that day made everything worth it. And it sounds a bit cheesy and whatever, but it's just like probably the best day of my life, and that's the most way I can sort of justify the day. And yeah, the build up was crazy. We had a really young team, and I felt like it was important for me as a leader of that team, as captain of that team, to be really calm and try and get everybody focused just purely on performance. But that how much the day means to everyone, and just to have that day is amazing. But I just kept saying to the group, like, I'm telling you now, it'll be so much better, and you'll remember it so much more if we win. So yeah, I think going to the stadium, we got invited to Wembley the day before the game. So I think the game was and we went on the Saturday, and it was roasting, Mike. It was like, I think it was like 30 on, like on your phone, on the app, it was 30, but it felt like 37 in Dubai on the pitch. Wow. Like, it was like walking, when you open the oven and you get that wave of heat just in your face. That was what it felt like. But I think walking out on the pitch on the Saturday was such a good thing in hindsight, because I had this moment where I was just like, wow, like, this is an unbelievable venue. And you think about all the amazing players that have played there, and the thought of walking out on that and sharing that pitch with players who have played on that pitch was incredible. So I sort of had my moment on the Saturday where I was like very starstruck by the venue. And then we went and walked around the dressing rooms, and they showed us, and then they're talking about players who've showered there and blah, blah, blah. So I think you kind of get that out of your system, and then we just prepared as we normally would for any other game, really. I know it's very, again, quite cliche to say, but we tried not to treat it any different. The only thing we did slightly different, which I take my hat off to the gaffer, he did something really cool, was he got messages from all of our families. And we did this like game the night before where we shared, it was like a fun fact, like an embarrassing fact about your teammates, and other people read them out, and that was really nice. And then he asked your family to describe what it would mean to you to play at Wembley. So yeah, that was a nice moment, and that sort of brought us together even more than we already had been. And then on the Sunday, it's just try and go and take care of business. And obviously, thankfully, we did that. We had an unbelievable crowd. There was like 40,000 there, and we delivered on the day. So yeah, that was amazing.
Just going to go back to these messages from the family. Was it the idea to make someone break and cry? Because I would have been in tears.
No, to be honest, I'm not a big crier at all. Like, if you ask any of my mates, they'll be like, he's hard as a stone. Like, rarely shows that much emotion. But yeah, I was in tears on the Saturday night.
I can imagine.
With a message that my dad had sent to the manager. I was crying. So that was. But it was nice. They were, not sad tears. They were sort of happy tears.
No, of course. Yeah. I mean, was there, and I'm probably going to put it in your head now, was there a tiny bit of jealousy when you're looking around at some of these young players and you're going, I've battled my arse off to get here, and you're doing it very quickly in your career?
I think everyone's journey is different, isn't it? And I think for me, that was the full circle moment that I talked about earlier, that like sort of made all of the hard work and sacrifice that I'd had throughout my career growing up worth it. So I I don't think those boys quite realise yet how lucky they are to have experienced it that early on in their career. And I think there'll come a point where they will realise, but that day won't happen for a few years yet.
Many years.
Yeah, many years.
So you lifted the trophy. The dressing room must have been amazing afterwards.
Yeah.
Did the trophy come home with you? Did you wake up next to it? Did you have your Cocoa Pops out of it?
I can confirm the trophy did not come home with me, actually. There was the club were very, very protective about the trophy. And I felt a bit offended that they didn't trust me with it, to be honest. I think I'm quite a trustworthy person. But there was a really funny picture that did the rounds in our group chat. So straight after the game, the club had hired out this pub. It was it called the Green Man or something like that? It was like one of the ones in and around Wembley, so we could walk to it from the stadium. And it was all like family and friends. Like it was like a guest list and that, where all of our family and friends were there. It was like a nice outside area and indoor area too. So the trophy was there and it was doing the rounds and people were drinking beer out of it. And yeah, we got heavily intoxicated that night. And then the kit man stayed relatively sober so that he could look after the trophy. I think he was under strict instructions, like do not let the trophy out of your sight at any time. So there was a funny picture doing the rounds in our chats of Ian Gare, the kit man, like no shirt on, in bed, like cuddling the trophy. I was just thinking, how have you got the trophy here?
Perfect.
But no, it was we had a lot of fun, and then the celebrations that continued into the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think we were like 4 nights out straight, which was brilliant.
Well deserved.
Yeah,
we should have been playing you in that final, but we didn't
could
turn
have
up against anymore.
Yeah, I think they beat you in was it the quarters, Spennymoor?
Yeah, I think it's cool. Yeah, but anyway, we'll move on. We're fine. We're over that. So Tommy's been sort of quite a big part of your career. We spoke to him at the League Awards, and I'm going to use the inverted. He was fuming that we'd got you. Nice fuming, because he said you're going to be a massive part of bringing through the younger players.
Yeah.
What's it like having this moniker of a mentor and a leader of these players? I mean, is it something you've worked on, or is it something that you just kind of like, why is everyone listening to me? What's going on?
I don't know if they listen to me all the time. Only some. I think like I've played under some great leaders, some great managers, and I think it's probably always been in my character to lead. But it's only recently probably come out of me more in my late 20s and early 30s. So yeah, I think at Aldershot, the first season I joined, the manager made me vice captain, and then we had Stuart O'Keefe, who played in the Premier League for Palace, and he was our captain. Unfortunately, he got injured after like 2 games, so all of a sudden I've like joined this new club and I found myself wearing the armband. So I was kind of like, right, it's time for me to step up and lead this team now. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed kind of being in that leadership role, and we had a really good season that year. I think we ended up finishing just outside the playoffs in 8th. But we probably underachieved, to be honest. We had a great squad. But yeah, I think I just sort of grew into that role really, and like I said, having played under some really good leaders, managers, and had played under some good captains, you pick up snippets from people, and then you kind of have your own style of leadership that you think works for you. And I think the most important thing as someone in a leadership position is to be authentic and be yourself, because I think if you're trying to be someone you're not, then your teammates, they smell it a mile off, and they just think like, you're a pretender, you're a bit of a fraud. So I just think I try and be myself. I would never ask people to do things that I would never do myself. And yeah, I like try and drive high standards all the time, whether it's a gym session with Sean or training or whatever. Like I like to see things being done the right way. I hate corners being cut. whether it's a warm up or whatever it is. So yeah, and I think, you know, some people probably find it annoying and busy, but I don't care. I think if I think it's going to help the team, then I don't mind being disliked for a moment or two.
That bit about not asking people to do something you do yourself, wouldn't do yourself. I used to be manager of a shoe shop and wear a suit and tie and everything, and then be cleaning out around the loo. And every time anyone saw it, they were like, oh, "We now can't moan about having to do this because he's clearly doing it." I had a special suit just for that. Right, I said to you, I'm going to search around for some curveballs. Now, apart from some interesting Insta photos with some even more interesting shirts and haircuts, I then got massively sidetracked by the sort of the parallel life that you have, and your business interests as well,
Yeah.
with the park.
Yeah.
How do you balance the two? Are you because I've read you're not hands off. You're there as well. It's a family business. But
Yeah.
how do you kind of balance the two? I mean, it's what you just what you just said there. I was like, that's a LinkedIn dream. That is all the stuff from football coming into business, business coming into football. But how do you balance it all?
With great difficulty.
Perfect.
I don't have much time to do much socially. Hence why I'm got no kids and no wife. So I have to, and life's busy, but like I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I think for listeners that don't know, like I work for the Great Yarmouth Pleasure Beach. That's my family's business. It's been in my family now since 1950s, so over 70 years. My dad's managing director, and then my brother is also involved, you know, as a director too, and then myself, sort of bring up the leadership team. Plus, my mum looks after catering, so it's very much family business. But my general schedule throughout the week is like, if we have a Tuesday game, then I won't go home like on a Wednesday. But if we have no Tuesday game, then Wednesday is my office day. So like after training finishes at like, say, I don't know, 2-3 o'clock, I'll then drive back to Norfolk, get home for like 6, and then I'll work the Wednesday, generally like 9 till 5, and then drive back and get back into Surbiton for sort of like 8-9 o'clock, ready for the Thursday morning. And then if we do have a Tuesday game, like this weekend, for example, after we played Solihull, because I hadn't gone back on the Wednesday, I went back on the Sunday instead. So like I try and get home once a week, or at a push once every 10 days. And that was sort of the agreement when I signed for Aldershot with my dad. He was like, you can sign there, because obviously I was moving from Kingston to Aldershot. It's a long way from home then. So you can sign there, but you need to be in the office once a week. So he's and I thought, you know, it was one of them where like I agreed to it at the time, and I thought, oh, like he'll get bored of that and like he'll let it slide eventually.
Yeah.
But he's kept me on my toes with it. He's actually kept me really accountable. So but no, I love it, and sort of my role there is my official title is Director of Business Development. So anything that can kind of help push the company forward in terms of growth and revenue and that sort of stuff. So yeah.
So do the roles ever kind of swap? Have you ever kind of met any of your football family unexpectedly there, or do people offer you for freebies? And
my teammates ask me for freebies, yeah, a lot, which I'd never mind doing, to be fair. And like, you know, at Kingston and Aldershot, you get close with your teammates, you get close with their families, because you know, end up doing things outside of football with them, which is lovely. And then they're like, oh, do you mind if we bring the kids for the weekend? I'm like, yeah, absolutely, great. So I don't know if you know of a player, Tyler Frost, at Aldershot. So he probably would have played against Sutton when Aldershot came to you guys. I think it was in January last year. But he brought his kids, I think it was maybe last weekend or the weekend before on Sunday. And then next teammate of mine, Josh Coulson, a bit of a Cambridge United legend, like really close with him, and his kids absolutely adore the park. They're like perfect age for it. They're like 9 and 6 maybe, and
awesome.
they're like there every month. So I just end up giving them like season tickets, and yeah, they always send me a video after they've been, and they're very grateful. But yeah, I was definitely popular in school, but not because people liked me, but because they wanted to go to the park.
Well, I was actually where I was going to come to next. I mean, you mentioned it's been in the family for generations, and I think there's lots of new stuff. But I think I read again somewhere you're quite proud of the little the railway.
The scenic railway, yeah.
Yeah, that's been there for 100 years,
93 years.
93 years.
Yeah, it's no, it's amazing part. It's an amazing piece of our sort of park's history. It was like it's an old school wooden roller coaster, which is still manually operated by a brakeman. So there's a guy who sits on there and controls the speed of the carriage as it goes round. But I'm making it sound like it's an antique, like it is very old, but it's still quite thrilling as well.
Yeah.
It's one of them you need to kind of experience it to understand what I'm talking about. So nobody will have a clue. But yeah, there's been some really cool history stuff going on with that. Like we had, I don't know if you like Madness, like the music group, but we had Madness, House of Fun. They had a number one hit single, House of Fun, which they filmed. The music video was on the scenic railway.
Wow. No, yeah.
So yeah, weird and wonderful fact of the Sutton podcast.
So, what was it like growing up? I mean, were you wandering around there at night time? Were your birthdays always very well attended?
Yeah, no, I don't know. I guess we just never knew any different as kids. Like it was just the way we were brought up. Babies in arms. Like my mum and dad are very, very hands-on with the business. They're not directors that sort of like employ staff and then they just go and sit on a beach in Spain somewhere when we're busy. Like they're there in the thick of it, and they love it. So I think as kids we were just there. You know, my first job I think was working in the golf kiosk. We've got like a little mini adventure golf, and I used to hand out the putters and the balls to people when they went to play on the adventure golf. Then I think I got promoted to like candy floss and ice cream. And then, yeah, I stopped getting involved really. So I had a period from probably 16 when I moved to Ipswich as a scholar till 24 where I wasn't involved with the business at all and had no intention of being involved. And then at 24, like my dad, unfortunately, he got ill, had a heart attack, which was like all of a sudden. And when we saw a specialist in London in Harley Street, she was like, we're attributing a lot of it to stress of the business. So that was when I was kind of like playing part-time for Kings Lynn. I just sort of arrived back in the UK. And I was like, right, Dad, like, I want to help. I've gone away. I've got a business degree. I think I can contribute in a positive manner. Like, you're clearly struggling with the stress of it all. Like, let me get involved. So that was sort of how it developed, really. But no, to answer your original question, I think it's always been in our blood to do that, and we haven't really known any different. But whenever I sort of explain it to people, they're like, "What?" And it just feels normal to us. Do you know what I mean?
You're sitting there going, yeah, you think being in there after it's closed is great, but all I've got to do is clear up stuff all the time and pick up all the litter. It's not so much fun.
It's actually quite eerie at night as well.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Well, that leads on to the next point. You've won an award very recently. It was your Halloween Scare Nights. What sort of, how did that come about, and what other
You have done your research, haven't you, Mike?
I have.
I'm surprised you haven't dug up a few more skeletons out the closet, to be honest. But Halloween, like I said, when I started working for my dad again at, I think it was 24, 25, I'd obviously just got back from the States, and Halloween over in America, I don't know if any of like the listeners or yourself have ever experienced it, but they go nuts for it. Like I've never seen before. And I think I went to like a Fright Night somewhere in the States. I think it might have been in Atlanta, maybe at Six Flags or somewhere like that. And I come back and I said to my dad and my brother, I was like, do we do anything for Halloween? And the only thing we did at the time was like a pumpkin trail in the day. And I was like, oh, like we need to get involved with Halloween. And this is when people in the UK hadn't really like the Friday nights hadn't massively cottoned on in theme parks yet. You know, like now everybody's doing them, but in 2020 they weren't that popular. So I basically like done some research and like spoke to a few different people in the UK that I thought might be able to help, and we came up with this name. It's called Fairground Frights. So it's like a fright night experience where we like shut all the gates to the park. We have roaming actors everywhere, and we created a few scare mazes. And I think the first year, like, we maybe had 2 scare mazes and maybe like 20 actors. So it wasn't very big, but it quite quickly became clear that people loved it. So I think we're now planning for year 6, which is in 2 months' time, and the event's like gone from strength to strength. So we're now up to like 45, 50 scare actors. We're employing a dance team this year. We've now got like 5 scare mazes, and it's like really gone off. Like we get people from all over Europe come and experience the Fright Nights, and yeah, like you said, we won an award. I think we won like best event atmosphere last year. So we've put like a stage on the park where we have like DJs come in and play like Halloween funky music, and yeah, it's like my favourite time of year for the business, because I think creatively, like, we can really get our teeth stuck into it, and yeah, create such a special atmosphere on the park.
Yeah, and historically the season would have kind of been done, and now it's extended
Yeah,
a bit longer as well. So that's
extra
mercenary.
Yeah. Dad's pleased that we're able to bring in some more revenue, and but no, like the staff all love it as well. Like our team members, they really get into it, and some of them dress up, and you know, yeah, no, it's a great time. You'll have to come down if you get the opportunity.
Scary. Right, so back to Sutton. How did the move to Sutton come about, and what was your main reasons for saying yes? And have the early impressions backed up what you were told, what you were sold?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions in that question, so I'll try and attack it methodically. How did the move come about? So my contract expired at Aldershot. I think there was some stuff going on behind the scenes at board level at Aldershot, which meant that the players that the manager wanted to retain earlier, he couldn't do that for whatever reason. So essentially, our contracts expired after Wembley, and some of us hadn't signed like all year round agreements. So I was out of contract technically the day after Wembley, which probably 2 or 3 weeks prior to that, like I'd spoke to my agent and been like, I might need another club because I don't know what's going on here. Like, the manager's told me he wants to keep me, but in football, like, unless you have a contract, you know, nothing's ever done until the contract's signed. So he started putting the feelers out there, probably end of April, I would imagine, and seeing what interest was there. And then, yeah, I think after the final, like, went out and enjoyed it, and then the dust had settled a little bit, probably towards the end of May, and my agent rang me, was like, there's a strong interest from Sutton. And they were always a team that I'd admired from afar, having played against them, you know, in the Matt era. Like, found them really tough to play against, really strong physically, and intimidating, you know, place to go and play football on the AstroTurf as well, when you had it on the AstroTurf. And then last season, having played against Sutton twice, away, we nicked a point really late, after getting battered for 45 minutes. And then at home, it was a similar story. We were rubbish for 45 minutes, and Sutton were very good. I think Simps scored to go 1-0 up in the first half, and then second half we come out and completely different team, and we scored, and we were probably in the ascendancy, maybe could have won it in the end. But I think both times I played against Sutton, I thought, like, they're a good team. I like the way they play football. So yeah, like, I've always admired from afar, and then my agent mentioned them, and I was like, yeah, I'm definitely interested in going there. So yeah, I sort of jumped on I think the gaffer was in America at the time, possibly visiting one of the owners or something. I think he might have mentioned the podcast when he came in. So I did a Zoom call with him, and really liked what he had to say. Like, very open and transparent with me, and how he saw me sort of fitting into the plans at Sutton. there was a bit of interest from other teams as well, but I really got a strong feeling that like working under the gaffer at Sutton might be a good thing for me. So yeah, then I sort of spoke to my agent, spoke to my family, and I was like, I want to go to Sutton, and that was it really. I rung Woody before because we had a mutual friend, someone he played with at Colchester, Teddy Bishop. So I spoke to Woody on the phone, asked his opinion, and then that made my mind up that Sutton was the one. And I think when was it? It was just before I had a holiday booked to go to Guatemala and Mexico, and I wanted to get it done, get my medical done before then, so I could like just go and relax and enjoy myself. And so yeah, I think it was like early June. I came down to the stadium, met the manager, met Terry, had my medical with Luke, and signed on the dotted line. So no, I think all of the things that the gaffer spoke to me about on the call have sort of come to fruition in my first sort of 6-7 weeks experience with the club, and like I'm really, really enjoying like the place where I am and the people I'm surrounded by, and yeah, really excited for what's to come this season.
You've read the questions because that moves on. No pressure, but this is year 5. And assuming that we ignore 100 years of history, every 5 years we win the title. So knowing it's a foregone conclusion, in all seriousness, what does success look like for you this season? What would be a good season for you, either on or off the pitch?
For me personally, or for the team?
Either way, whichever you want to do it, or both. It's up to you.
I'll go for the team. I think improving upon last season. I think there was, you guys finished 12th in the league last year. I think we need to be better than that for sure, and I think we want to be pushing towards the top end of the table. We've had a really positive pre-season, but it's now going out and executing and delivering on the real stuff, which is really exciting. Obviously, games are coming thick and fast. So, yeah, if we were to improve on last season, have some really strong performances at home, and yeah, it's always difficult when you get asked that question because people want to go, oh, like we want to win the league. Yeah, of course, everyone wants to win the league.
Yeah, everyone wants to win the league, but it's that's not the only thing that defines success.
No,
yeah.
I think to answer your question, to build like a really, really strong culture for the players where we go about our work in the right way every day, and to build a better connection with the supporters as well. That's something we've talked about as players. To bring that connection back with the fans, have a really, really strong culture internally with the players, and like a really good synergy with the staff and the management team and everything that they do. Because I think there's some really great things going on behind the scenes at the club and the way the club's run. I think if we can do our bit as players, like everything's there for us to go, and like there's nothing that we don't have that we need to go out and succeed. Like the staff have put some great conditions in place where it's now up to us as players who have been handpicked and brought here to Sutton together to go out and deliver. So yeah, it's exciting. It's a really exciting time.
Well, you mentioned some of the things. I mean, you do seem quite sort of keen, from what I've heard, on the sort of off-field stuff as well. The community, into the community. Why is the community sort of factor important to you?
I just think like football clubs are so much better when everyone's involved.
Mm-hmm.
Like football clubs are rubbish without the fans. Like I've experienced that firsthand. Like COVID was miserable. Like playing with no fans was bad. And I'm not sure if many people would play if the fans weren't a part of it. So I think to have everyone, like the clubs that I've been involved in, when you have like that connection with your supporters and everyone feels part of it, like it just feels better. And I think success follows if you're doing those things right. Of course, you have to have good players, and of course, you have to be set up right tactically. But if you can get the stuff off the pitch, like your connection and all that stuff at its peak, then I think it just puts you in such a better place to go and succeed. And I think when I look at like some of the young fans who come and watch us, it's like to engage with them and inspire them in whatever they do is always a positive thing and feels good for the soul to do.
Well, yeah, you mentioned them. They poor boys. They work really hard, but they have got a bunch of old gits to drag along with them. What can fans do? What can supporters do to help the players achieve for the season, and give us a little message for the fans to tell them what you want from us?
I think we've talked internally as players about our home form. So like last year, I think we looked at the home form. Like Sutton were 18th in the league for home form. So we talked about how do we go and improve our home form. And one of the things we discussed was like the connection with our supporters and the influence that can have. Because there's nothing worse, as a player, when you go to like a really hostile environment where it's a difficult place to play and the fans are right behind the team. So it's like, how do we create that? So I think for us, the message would be like, if you're a fan, try and get into your seats 15, 20 minutes before the game as we're coming in for warm-ups to create that energy, to give the players energy as we come in from our warm-ups. And then also we talked about the end behind the goal we attack in the second half. You'll have to remind me what is that stand called?
I think it's got a sponsor's name, but we just call it the Collingwood. Yeah, the Collingwood end.
Yeah, so we want to try and encourage as many supporters to get in there as well, to create like that feeling of trying to suck the ball into the goal second half, and try and make that a thing. So I think there's some little things the fans can do to maybe help us achieve at home, because we want to have a really strong home record this year. Obviously, we started on Saturday. And we got a point. But I think it was a really good performance, really strong performance. There was a lot of encouraging things done, but we want to be really hard to beat at home. So let's try and get that going.
We don't want Fipsy to have to keep heading the ball away like that; he'll get a headache.
The throw-in was coming in from anywhere in our half, so Fipsy had to be on job, and he did it really well.
Yeah, I said well done to Jack for the clean sheet afterwards. I didn't do nothing.
Yeah,
I just stood there.
Yeah, I saw him eating paracetamol at the post-match meal.
So finally, you'll be pleased to know, because I didn't realise it was going to go on so long. You've given very good answers. Sorry. It's exam seasons. You've done a lot on your education, and you've achieved a lot both on and off the pitch. What's the one piece of advice you're going to give to young people who want to sort of balance their career with possibly another thing, a dual career? This is a proper LinkedIn host.
Don't do it. Just focus on one thing.
Be good at one thing.
Be good at one. And if you're good at that one thing, you won't need to do the other thing.
Excellent. Right. We are going to wrap up this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, thank everyone for their attention and any feedback. Like, share, and comment on this episode at Sutton Podcast on social media. Subscribe and everything. And a big thanks to today's guest, not Aaron. Going to regret saying that to me. I'll be honest. You should have just gone with what you prefer, not what you hate. Don't forget to go to the Pleasure Beach website and use the code Sutton Podcast when you're booking your tickets. It won't do anything, but it just makes me laugh to think that people are going to attempt it. Thanks to everyone for listening, and thanks a lot, Aaron, for your time. Good luck tomorrow and for the whole rest of the season. And take care. We'll see you soon. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
United!